Hello, I'm Ollie. This is Criminolly, where I talk about crime, pulp, horror, that kind of thing. Today it's Sunday, so it's time for another episode of Sunday Bollyx. So, if you haven't watched Sunday Bollyx before, it's a series of videos where I talk about a fairly random book-related topic. And just give you my thoughts on it, really. And most of the time, and it will definitely be the case today, I don't have all of the answers to the thing I'm talking about. It's more that I am starting the conversation about it and encourage you all to continue that conversation in the comments. So yeah, what I wanted to talk about today, and this is kind of almost like an addendum to the video I did last week on popular fiction versus literature. So one of the commenters on that, Fadista, who comments on many videos and always has something interesting to say, was talking about the trend in fiction at the moment, and really since the inception of the Oprah Winfrey Book Club, for books being seen as being about self-improvement. And so that's what I wanted to talk about today, and I think it will probably be a shorter video than normal because I don't have a huge amount to say on it, but I think it is an interesting subject, and it really comes down to the question of why do you read? So anyone who's watched the channel for any length of time will know that I read for fun. I read because I enjoy it. But I do think there's a big trend in our culture generally that encourages people to think about reading as something that they would do for self-improvement rather than something they would do for fun. And I think that's probably a massive change since the situation in decades past. And I've talked about this on the channel before, but if you think back to say like the 1950s or 60s, yeah, you could watch TV, but you could only watch it in the evening when you were at home. Yeah, you could go out to the movies. You could listen to music at home, or you could go to a club to listen to music, or go and see a band or something like that. But what you couldn't do was listen to music on the move, or watch YouTube videos or Netflix when you were on the bus, or play video games or any of those things. So we were much more, in terms of our entertainment, we were much more contained to particular locations for it. So, if you wanted to watch a movie, you'd go to the cinema. If you want to watch TV or listen to the radio even, you'd stay at home. We didn't have that kind of portable entertainment apart from, and I'll see if I can get an age-appropriate book, apart from books. So here's a book from the 1950s. So I imagine, somebody probably read this book on a bus or a train or something like that, because they needed something to read. They needed something to do during their commute. And obviously newspapers and magazines and things like that, I think, were much more popular and important in a physical form back then. But certainly books were read for entertainment by a much broader range of people than they are today. I talked in my my video about the most influential popular books, about the experience I had a few years ago when I was on holiday of walking around the swimming pool, and all the women reading one of the 50 Shades books and all the men reading a Jack Reacher book. And certainly I think that's something that publishers aspire to, is finding that really popular book that will capture the public attention and will be a breakout summer read. But that's that's kind of the thing of it, isn't it? A lot of people only read when they're on holiday, because that's the only time when they are when they're away from home for an extended period. They probably can't watch YouTube and Netflix because most hotels don't have free Wi-Fi, and the roaming charges on your mobile phone are exorbitant. So a lot of people do read books and associate those books with being on holiday, with that sense of complete relaxation, lying on a sun lounger by the pool, sun beating down on you, maybe an alcoholic beverage next to you and a book in your hand. And that is what reading is for many people in our society nowadays. It's something they do when they're on holiday. It's not something that they do like I do. I spend probably 2 hours a day reading. I read more on holiday because I've got more free time. But yeah, I certainly don't only read on holiday. This wouldn't be a very good channel if I only read when I was on holiday, would it? Especially after the last 2 years and not really having gone on holiday. So yeah, I think in our culture, people associate nowadays, the vast majority of people associate reading with being on holiday and with it being not work, the opposite of work. Yeah. So reading for pleasure is something, it's like almost like the ultimate relaxation. Yeah. Whereas there is also this trend for, the self-improvement type of reading, that has, was I think I'm not saying it started with the Oprah Winfrey Book Club, but it certainly got a massive boost then. And when you look, many books nowadays actually will have book club notes at the end. So I think there are, lots of people who are part of book clubs where they try and read a book that will make them a better person. And they read the notes at the end and, they discuss it as a group. And I applaud all of this. I think anything that encourages people to read is great. And equally, if people don't read, that's fine too. There are many, many distractions, many forms of entertainment nowadays. But I kind of worry that we're moving to, or maybe even already in, a society where reading just for fun is almost is seen as quite frivolous, in a way that watching TV for fun maybe isn't. And I don't know if it's because it's a less social thing. Watching TV is something, certainly when I never watch TV alone. So if I'm watching TV, I'm watching TV with my wife or my son, or the two of them together, and we are enjoying something together. It's a communal activity, as is going to the cinema or listening to music often. Whereas reading is a very solitary activity. So maybe that's part of it as well. But it's I think an interesting place that we've moved to, that there are, reading is seen in either one of two extremes. It's either something fantastic to do because it makes you a better person, or it's something almost selfish to do because you're absorbing yourself in a book and ignoring the world around you. And I do not read for self-improvement. I did not read The Web by Jerry Ahern to improve myself. But I do think, I definitely think books have the capacity to improve you. And, another book I read this week, Violetta by Isabel Allende, I think probably, in some ways did improve me. It certainly opened my eyes to experiences of, of women and other minority groups in South America during the 20th century in a way that, my eyes hadn't been open to that before, because I hadn't read about that kind of situation before. So I think anything where you are reading about something that is different from your normal life it may not be improving, but it's certainly going to broaden your outlook a bit, isn't it? Even if it's reading about trying to survive in a post-apocalyptic America where the Russians have invaded. Worryingly, maybe we should be reading these books as a primer for the future. I don't know. So yeah, this may be the rambliest ever Sunday Bollyx video, because I didn't really have consistent or coherent thoughts going into it. But I think the point I'm trying to make is we need to reclaim reading as something that people can do for fun, and that's something that a broader range of people can do for fun. And I think the boom in YA literature over the last few years is a really positive thing. And I do hope that all those teenagers that are reading YA books now continue reading. I don't know if anyone's got access to stats of, the breakdown, like the demographic breakdown of ages, and which age group reads the most. But it certainly feels like kids and teenagers read more than most adults. And I suspect that's because they're encouraged to at school. So again, whilst they're reading, books for fun, like, Hunger Games or Twilight, plucked two terrible examples of what YA literature is nowadays. But, they are encouraged to read for pleasure as a means of self-improvement because it helps them with their schooling. So yeah, maybe that's the age group where it meshes together, the two extremes. Yeah, I'm just rambling now, basically, so I'm going to stop. But do let me know in the comments what you think. I do think it's something that we as passionate readers need to think about, and we need to encourage everyone else to read as well, and to open people's eyes to the fact that reading for fun is just as much fun as watching TV for fun, and that we should embrace it, and we should encourage other people to embrace it, because books are bloody brilliant, aren't they, whether they improve you or not. As is often the case with these Sunday videos, the thoughts kept on coming after I'd finished filming it. So I'd finished filming it, I'd edited it, I'd uploaded it, and then my thoughts developed further, and I realised the nub of the argument that I was actually trying to get to, and that is this. What I worry about is that people who read for self-improvement, that people are focused on the idea of reading for self-improvement, and that blinds them to the idea of reading for pleasure. And equally, that people who only read for pleasure on holiday are blinded to the idea of reading for self-improvement. Yeah, and I think people like me who just read all the time can do both. Yeah, and happily do both, and constantly do both. And I think that there can be a snobbishness from people who purely read for self-improvement because they're trying to make themselves better, when they are thinking about what they would consider to be lesser books, when they're thinking about popular books. And this is the bit that really ties back to what I was talking about last week. So this literature versus popular fiction debate. So my concern is that by focusing on reading to improve themselves, people are blinding themselves to the wealth of wonderful, popular, yes, frivolous, but still wonderful fiction that's out there. Yeah, and they should be embracing that, because you don't have to read to improve yourself. You can read for fun too, and you should, because it's great. As always, I hope you found that interesting. I hope you're safe and well and reading good stuff, whether it's for self-improvement or just for shits and giggles. But yeah, take care of yourselves, and I will speak to you again soon. Cheerio.